For much of our discussion so far, we have focused on the political structure of the Roman Empire, an extraordinary system forged by Augustus that united an enormous diversity of peoples, languages, governments, and cultures within a single imperial framework. Politically, the Roman Empire was remarkably successful. For centuries, it provided order, law, security, and stability across 3 continents. Yet that very success created an unintended consequence. As political unity expanded, it left many people feeling spiritually unanchored. The empire governed bodies efficiently, but it increasingly struggled to satisfy deeper human needs for meaning, identity, and moral purpose. In the ancient world, religion had never existed primarily as a matter of personal faith. Instead, traditional religions were woven tightly into politics, geography, and social belonging. Every city, every nation, and even every household had its own gods. A person's religion expressed who they were and where they came from. Greeks worshipped Greek gods. Romans worshipped Roman gods. Egyptians worshipped Egyptian gods. Even the Hebrews, though unique in their strict monotheism, understood their God as the God of Israel, a national deity bound to a specific people. Religion was not primarily about ethics or salvation, it was about belonging. The rise of the Roman Empire reshaped this world completely. Ancient political boundaries dissolved, and people moved freely across the Mediterranean seeking military service, trade, work, or advancement. A Greek born in Athens might spend a lifetime in Gaul. A Spaniard might end up in Egypt. A Syrian could serve an emperor in Italy. As people migrated, they were often cut off from their families, communities, and local traditions. The gods of one's homeland no longer fit easily into a life lived far away. Traditional religion, once rooted deeply in place and community, could no longer provide clear answers about moral behavior, personal purpose, or identity. At the same time, Greek philosophy had already convinced many educated Romans that ethical living mattered, but philosophy was abstract, demanding, and intellectually inaccessible to most ordinary people. It explained how a wise person ought to live, but it offered little emotional comfort, communal belonging, or spiritual reassurance. Many people felt adrift. Sensing this growing spiritual instability, the Roman state attempted to provide a new form of unity through religion itself. The result was the Imperial cult, an officially encouraged system of worship designed to bind the empire together spiritually, just as Roman law and administration bound it politically. The imperial religion rested on 2 foundations. First was the worship of the goddess Roma, a symbolic deity who represented the Roman state and its eternal authority. Second was the worship of the emperor, though this took different forms across the empire. In Egypt and much of the eastern Mediterranean, regions with long traditions of divine kings, the emperor was worshipped directly as a god. In Rome and the western provinces, where people believed human beings could not become gods, worship focused instead on the genius of the emperor, the divine spirit that protected him and guided his rule. In theory, this system was meant to create shared loyalty, identity, and reverence across the empire. In practice, it failed. The imperial cult was fundamentally political, not spiritual. Participation expressed obedience to the state rather than genuine devotion. It offered no ethical guidance, no vision of how individuals should live, and no sense of moral transformation. Because everyone worshipped the same abstract symbols, it also failed to create meaningful community or belonging. For most people, it felt hollow, an obligation rather than a source of meaning. As older religions weakened and the imperial cult proved insufficient, a spiritual vacuum opened across the Roman world. Into that vacuum flowed a wide range of new religious movements, collectively known as the mystery religions. Although these cults differed greatly in their deities and practices, they shared several defining characteristics that made them deeply appealing in an imperial society. First, they were universal. Unlike traditional religions, mystery cults were not tied to a specific city or ethnicity. Anyone could join, regardless of origin. Many of these religions centered on ancient Near Eastern deities. One of the most popular was the cult of Isis, originally an Egyptian goddess. Yet Isis was not worshipped in isolation. She was identified with goddesses from many cultures, blending religious traditions into a form that felt familiar yet expansive. Second, mystery religions were personal. Membership was no longer inherited through family or imposed by birth. Individuals joined by choice, seeking spiritual guidance, ethical direction, personal connection with the divine, and a sense of belonging that transcended geography. This represented a radical shift from the religion of the ancient world, which had never centered on the individual believer. Third, mystery religions involved initiation rites, mysteries, from which they drew their name. Entrance required sacred ceremonies known only to initiates. These rites, myths, and symbols were hidden from outsiders. The secrecy strengthened bonds among members and fostered a powerful sense of shared identity and purpose. The success of the mystery religions lay in their ability to meet the emotional and spiritual needs created by life in the Roman Empire. They offered belonging in place of lost communities, moral guidance in a confusing world, personal relationships with divine beings, hope for life after death, and a sense of individual importance in a political system that often felt distant and impersonal. In an empire that governed vast populations efficiently but impersonally, mystery religions gave people something deeply human: meaning, connection, and the feeling that their lives mattered in the eyes of the divine. They did not merely coexist with Roman civilization, they responded directly to the psychological and spiritual consequences of imperial rule.